July, Aki saw the return to training finally. We get the season fixture released as well, and it was revealed our opening game was, of course, just our luck, an Old Firm away to Celtic. When you first saw that, we asked about it on Twitter. It was a rough month, the first month in January, first month in August. It was revealed that was tough, man. I mean, you get Ross County, St Mirren, Celtic, Motherwell. It wasn't looking too positive for us at the time, was it?
No, it was just typical. We get the champions at Parkhead. I suppose there was a sort of argument that it was looking very, very, very unlikely there's going to be fans there, so it could work in our favour because they've not got the full crowd bit like behind them. Sort of, they've got really nothing to lose. It was a bit like a training game, and we were showing in some training games that were obviously behind closed doors that we were getting all right results. When we played the sort of Rangers game, we weren't that far away, so you didn't really know what you were going to get with the Celtic game. Obviously, we know what's happened now, but I think it sort of divided everybody. Some people were relishing the chance of being the first team, being Celtic being the first team to play because it was behind closed doors, but then other people were with the other side of things saying, oh, well, we've got Celtic away first game, they want to come out all guns blazing. Yeah. Everybody's not at the game, they're actually watching TV and they want to sort of state their case for the rest of the league. So I sort of divided opinions, that one.
And on the behind closed door games, there was a 2-1 win versus St Mirren, a 2-1 loss versus Hibs, and a 2-2 draw versus Motherwell. And even looking at that loss, from the reports, and obviously we don't know all the details about these behind closed doors games, from the kind of little bits of information we were able to find, all three games were incredibly close. Did that fill you with any confidence seeing those behind closed doors
obviously
games?
a couple of my pals were at the St Mirren game. They says that we were by far the better team, and we actually looked fairly comfortable. Still going into the world of unknown, you didn't know how the season was going to go. Which I don't think anybody would predict the way the seasons went this season, really. I couldn't really take much for the friendlies, to be honest with you, and it certainly didn't give me an opinion of how the season was going to go.
And in those behind closed door games, we did have some trialists playing. One of them being one of our signings of the season, along with Ross Callaghan, Akima Dolphin. I remember seeing photos. It was the 2-2 draw versus Motherwell that it was kind of revealed that he was on trial. Obviously, Aki's fans, eagle-eyed Aki's fans, picking him out, wondering who he is. He came from a free from Livingston and was brought in supposedly as a right back, who can also play centre back. And one of those players who just didn't seem to get a chance at Livingston, and just wasn't able to nail down a first team space. And he obviously saw us as an opportunity to do that.
And he's obviously came in as a right back. We initially played him there. First of all, he was then played centre back, and then more often now he's playing as a sort of Gogic role, holding midfielder, which I think in every position he's played in, he's looked fairly comfortable, and he certainly has been a good signing. I don't know if Livingston just didn't utilise him in the correct way. Another player that started his career off with a big team. I'm sure his youth career he was at Spurs. He's not going to be playing that at a young age if he's not got some promise. And I think as of recent, he's definitely been shown that there is promise. Then we flip it on the other side with the second player we've brought in. I cry out for all the time. Sunday Owolabi. When you see him signing, I'm sure at the time when we signed him, I was actually pretty buzzing about it.
Yep,
he scored a fucking barrel load for his team, and I said at the time, it doesn't matter if you're playing Sunday League, you're playing Champions League, if you're scoring 35 goals in a season, you get something about you clearly. The standard they came from wasn't any worse than Mikael Miller. In fact, I think it was actually better. It's just really, we've barely saw him, let's be honest. We've saw him, he started a couple of games against Annan and Stranraer where he's, let's be honest, the full team were fucking dire.
Yeah.
And he had brief cameo against St Mirren earlier on the season, and then he's had the odd 5-10 minutes here or there. One that's, I don't know why he's not hit the ground running, why he's not been given an opportunity. Obviously, we don't see behind the scenes, but I don't think any Accies fan would disagree. It cannot be any worse than what we've saw so far this season, and it's a bit unfortunate because at the time I remember being buzzing about it, and I think all Accies fans are just very deflated about the striker situation now.
I remember he was linked with a fair few teams in England and
Mhm.
up in Scotland. And I remember it was the first time in a while that Accies have been linked with a player that other teams have been linked with, and we've been the team that's managed to get them.
Since we've signed him, Scunthorpe, who are a fairly decent side,
Yeah.
English side, I've heard we're very interested in him.
Oh, really?
Scunthorpe have actually came up and watched him again when we've played apparently, and because he's barely got a chance, they've just closed their book on him. But I like you've said, sorry, it's weird and I think he's obviously saw that as a sort of Mikael Miller-esque sort
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
move to sort of then maybe he does well up here and he can get a move to, I don't know, a League One, a Championship side, and he'll actually get an opportunity to play at that team rather than having to try and work his way from the bench. But it's just not worked out, which is unfortunate. Fingers crossed he gets his opportunity soon, because the strikers we've got the news just not cutting it.
There was another player that was in and around training around about that time who we didn't end up signing, and I don't think MD really expected us to, and that was, of course, Stephen O'Donnell. Exactly, Stephen O'Donnell, Scotland international, has since obviously helped Scotland to the Euros. When it was announced that he was training with Accies, there was a weird kind of feel of, could we? Like,
See, now this is
surely
the thing.
not.
This is the thing. It really pisses me off. See, when you saw Rice coming out and saying, "Let's be serious, a Scotland international. We're not going to sign him. We're
Yeah.
just," that pisses you off, because that is just a loser mentality to have, and it's just, aye, we need to be realistic with sort of funds we can offer and wages we can offer. But let's be honest, he's not going to be on extremely exceptional wages at fucking Murrow. Why give him the facility to train at us? Why pay for his COVID test, and why
Mm.
do all that if he's only there to keep his fitness, and he at the end gives us a get it right fucking up, you can jump ship to our rivals, which at the time was a bit fucking embarrassing. But that whole mentality, it doesn't suit well with me. We need to be sort of realistic with players we can sign and wages we can offer, but it's not going to be. And he's a Scotland right back. He's hardly fucking Cafu. Do you know what I mean? Honestly, the way they were going on about him, you'd think he was the be all and end all.
Aye.
It doesn't bother me that in the slightest that we didn't sign him. I would have been an alright signing, but that whole negative loser mentality and just shutting down the fact that there was a possibility of signing him. He was at Kilmarnock, he's moved to Murrow. The wage difference isn't that humongous. We could have signed him if we pushed the boat out slightly. We've no signed him. He's moved to Murrow. It's not really worked out that well for him at Murrow. Get it up him.
Yeah, absolutely. We also saw that month it was the release of the new kits for the new season 2 kits that I really like. I've bought them both. I think they look great. Obviously, we all want the full hoops. It's not available with Adidas, unfortunately.
No,
Um,
it would be available if we actually were made by Adidas and we didn't go to a fucking.
it's I can tell you exactly. It's only the only reason that Celtic get the full hoops with Adidas is because they have an official contract with
See, this is what I'm
Adidas.
saying. We don't actually. We go to a fucking supplier for our kits. Aki's theoretically just going pro direct and buy in bulk certain kits that have got certain design. They pick the one they think looks nicest and relates to them, and then pretty much just get someone to put the badge and do the printing for them, because they've not actually got a sort of make deal with them.
Yeah,
But you've got clubs like Airdrie who hit off deals with Umbro, who Umbro will make kits designed specifically for them that they want. Air United done one, they got a bespoke Hummel kit, which was in relation to a kit they've had years and years ago, and that really hit it off with the fans.
yep,
So it's pretty much laziness, in my opinion, when Aki's just pick one. Because when we argued, we wanted the sort of green and blue retro kit, so we could have went to a kit maker, would have made a fortune. But it's because that green and blue one isn't available in a catalogue to pick,
yeah,
is why we've. So see, if you go on your Adidas website and look at football team kits, you can actually see our kits just without the
yeah.
Aki's badge. Do you know what I mean? So that's the annoying thing with regards to Aki's kits, because you're always going to be able to get it somewhere just without the Aki's stuff on for a much cheaper price. Whereas if they were to go the extra sort of mile and give us sort of bespoke kits that you don't get with Adidas or you don't get with Nike, um, and go back to sort of retro versions that they've had in previous years, I think it'd be a massive hit
Yeah,
with the fans, and it's just a bit annoying that we don't ever do that, and it's just the basic choices. Not to say I don't like the away kit, I really do like this season's away kit, but I would like to see us put in a bit more of an effort with our kits. And on that note as well, put a bit more effort in with sort of advertising and
yeah,
sort of marketing and like sort of getting in touch with the fans. I remember back in July, you were seeing big billboards go up everywhere.
the
You were seeing
Motherwell, yeah,
Motherwell, welcome to Motherwell, big Callum Lang as soon as you go into Motherwell. Yeah, in Paisley, they've got about 5 St Mirren ones advertising the kit, etc. And it's one thing I've always bemused by. Aki's never do that. I think me and you've talked about it before.
yeah,
The big billboard doing it
was
just
yeah,
down at Wilco's. So see if you put a billboard there with when Aki's have done their kit release and put it there and entice people to buy season tickets, entice people to buy like the match packages, you're going to bring in more revenue.
yeah,
And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to do that sort of shit. If we can advertise fucking pantomimes, which I'm sure we'll talk about later,
yeah,
as well as what we did later on in the year, then surely fuck they can put simple investment into that marketing and advertising things Aki's related, because it's only going to be a win-win. You're just going to entice younger fans. I remember when I was a wee guy and I used to always go by a billboard. They would they would catch your eye and you'd
yeah,
always ask your mom and dad, what's that? And you'd be intrigued and you'd go home and it'd stick in your mind. So obviously, if you're a wee guy, you're into your football, you see something Aki's related, it's only 2 minutes away. It's going to only be a positive thing for the club, both community-wise, financial-wise, and it's it grinds my gears. I don't know if you
yeah.
can tell.
Absolutely. On the actual kit release, though, it's the best kit release I've seen Aki's do. Don't get me wrong, there's not a huge selection like to choose from, but it's been the best put together. It's been the best edited, the best photos that came out. It's been the best build up.
Mm-hmm.
So big big plaudits to Marcus and whoever else had a hand in that as well. I thought that was
No,
brilliant.
I have to agree. I thought it was quite a cool and a unique sort of kit release, and I appreciate that sort of effort that goes in when sort of kits are released recently and sort of signings are made. I think it's a whole lot better than announcing a player signs with one line upside down, Charlie
Upside
Scott.
down photo. That's
Um,
just I know it's not to do with it, but oh my god, that's one of the worst things I have ever seen from a football club. We have signed Johnny Scott from Man United and then an upside down photo. It's the worst thing I've seen,
but
man. Like,
no, applaud it. Credit where credit's due. It was good, and it certainly is one of the better advertisements with the pay-per-view packages. I don't want to really talk about the things we see at halftime
yeah,
or the games, because I think they're absolute nonsense. The other things, part for the what is it, noose.
news.
I'm not even going to talk about that. It's utter bollocks, but I'm sure we might come on to that.
There was obviously some sad news in July as well. Well, Brandon, passing of a lifelong Accies fan.
Aye, old guy obviously passed away in July, and as far as I remember, old guy would be there. Don't get me wrong, he'd sometimes have to actually get taxis for the vaults to the stadium because he was so old, and
Yeah,
he was obviously getting on. He wasn't the best kept. He was ill, and oh, it was. I remember at the time it was heartbreaking, and even got a bit of a lump in my throat talking about it now. But it was just going to away games. Old guy would always be in the vaults bus. He'd always be in the pub, and it was just such an unfortunate event that happened. And I'm sure he's looking down the now, Conway saw the names under the sun and whatnot. But um, it was good to see all the Aki's fans come together as well, and sort of everybody was wishing him well, and it was nice of the club to sort of add a wee touch to that, and they wrote a sort of thing up about him. But I know, oh, he's obviously gone, but you'll never forget him with regards to Aki's games. And when we are back at the games, he'll obviously be missed on the away trips and the home trips, and obviously getting a drink with him and whatnot. So
August finally saw the return of football. Buzzing, so was buzzing when the game started again. We mentioned the Celtic game before. Obviously, started off with a 5-1 loss, then moved on to a 1-0 loss versus Ross County.
touched in the game's 5-1 loss. Don't think we could really have any qualms with that. Wasn't expecting anything out that game. Going into the Ross County game, mere selection bingo sort of thing. If I remember right, Fulton made a mistake
Like
for
that.
their goal. There wasn't much in the game, but it was a Fulton mistake. We needed a new keeper in then, and it seems like it might still be the case. I think we could be doing with a keeper, despite Fulton's brilliant save last week. On the sort of Aki's TV, no, the build up was brilliant. Half time was good. I don't know what we were expecting, but it definitely seem a lot better than what I was expecting. The stream was good. Build up was good. Half time was sort of good. But as you said, the comms were fucking horrendous. We weren't really expecting much, but I wasn't really. I don't know. I don't even think they had a clue what they were talking about.
Yeah,
Um, to be honest with you.
and it's a shame because the comms kind of brought the whole thing down because everything else, like I said, I thought was really good. It was just a shame that the Commons managed to do that. We then saw yet another postponement of a game. Aberdeen game got postponed. They obviously had their infamous COVID outbreak with a few of their players breaking the guidelines. We followed that postponement up with another 1-0 loss versus St Mirren. And looking at those two games, Ross County St Mirren, two teams that we especially need to pick points up of because we know those teams are going to be in and around us. So not a good start from Brian Rice, and one that people jumped on, and quite rightly so.
I obviously like the negative side of things. It's as I always say, it's quite hard not to be negative being an Accies fan, and everybody's entitled to their opinion and whatnot. But it was a start to the season where you're just like, oh, maybe this is going to be on a year. Maybe if we prepared better, we brought players in better, the recruitment was better, training was better. We weren't changing our team every match, which we certainly did at the start of the season. Who knows how, and who knows where we would be in if we start better. I always say this: we always seem to not have the best start, and it just makes you think when we always do sneak up by the skin of our teeth. If we did plan better, we did prepare better, and we did start seasons better, then where would we be?
Yeah.
And it it just it's annoying to say the least. I think after that St Mirren game, I think we played a closed door match against Motherwell.
Against Motherwell, battered them 6-1.
Battered them. I think it was sort of second string teams to be fair. But no, did Tunde no score a
Tunde
couple?
Ovalabi scored a brilliant goal. A really, really nice goal where I think the ball
Did
was
no
played
score a
in.
hat trick?
But he definitely scored more than one. I'm not sure if it was a hat trick, but that kind of set fans alight as well, thinking
Mm-hmm.
maybe we could have something special here. And
I
obviously we
think
did end up playing them in the league the week
we played
after
them in
and
the league the week after,
getting
and
our first points.
it was another one where it was another selection bingo before the game, and you were obviously just thinking the worst of it again, and you're thinking there's absolutely no hope in hell we're going to win this. And it was the stadium done a hospitality thing before it.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually went quite well because you actually got to be with all your pals and got to social distant, of course, which I'm sure the videos show after that goal went in. That was definitely implemented. But no, we won that game, and I think the best thing about it all was the fact that Motherwell fans had banners all set out. We'll see things you'll never see. Aye, 3 points. Get it up, you cunts. I love it, and that seems to be like I say, a sort of reoccurring thing with Aki's Motherwell games. Motherwell fans tend to always do something before the game, as in, oh, we're Motherwell, we're so better than you, and like I think they've done it before the game back in December 2019, where they put up a clip. I can't remember what it was. It said,
Yes, so they did.
and then Monaki's obviously win. Oh, what is it? It was sort of
It was
our town, our rules or something.
our house, our rules, or something like that.
Aye. So aye, no, Motherwell tend to do that a lot. And you think we've maybe turned a wee corner? We've got that Motherwell result. Maybe we can kick on now, and of course our next game after that is fucking
With Rangers.
Rangers, which was a 2-0 loss, and there's no point in really talking about that much. Rangers on a different level to everybody
Yeah.
else, so can't really expect much out of that game, to be honest with
Yeah. On the Motherwell game, I unfortunately didn't get a chance to see it at the time. I've watched the 90 minutes since then because it was up on Aki's TV. Um, but I remember I was filming. I was up a mountain that day, and the co-star of the film, the other actor I was acting alongside, is a die-hard season ticket Motherwell fan. And that day, whenever we had a second in between takes, we were checking our phone, checking the scores,
you.
and when that result came in, I think we had to put filming on hold for a second because I was going nuts and he was going nuts for two very different reasons. He was raging that game, and I remember we drove home together that day, and he was not happy. He was not happy, but my God,
Well,
it was
we
great.
didn't deserve it at all. It was
From
sort of
watching the 90 minutes, no, but it was the
snatch and
change.
grab.
It was the change that he made in the game, bringing people like Cam Smith and Mimno. They changed that game when they came on, and it shows.
Makes a difference. He's shite game management, but aye.
No, yeah, it definitely shows it made a difference. There was obviously some other news that month. It was revealed that Alan Maitland came out, and this is standard talk for a CEO or for a manager, for whatever. They came forward and said that he had a target of 40 points for the season. That was his target. We're not on track for that at the moment. It's just a standard thing that a lot of them say. And Brian Rice obviously shared your mentality and maybe still does on Ryan Fulton and needing a keeper. He said at the time how a keeper is his top priority signing. Um, and you do wonder how different our season would be if we had a higher quality goalkeeper in nets.
It's annoying because there's so many things Rice comes out and says and then contradicts himself the next week with saying something else. And there's so much stuff he did say prior to the season sort of being in full flow about needing a new goalkeeper and to challenge Fulton, needing this in, doing this in the correct manner. But then he contradicts himself with things he does in the future and says in the future, which is my biggest sort of pet hate with Rice. Stick with your guns, and if you're unable to stick with that, then be honest that you can't do it. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
be honest the reasons why. Don't chop and change what you're saying every fucking couple of weeks. We don't know how the season would be going if we had a better keeper. We might have won a few games at the start of the season. We might have got a few extra points, and that's how crucial a keeper is, especially being an Accies goalkeepers win you points being an Accies keeper, which has clearly been shown over the past seasons. He has been in the top flight. It's pivotal. Fulton's saved his 2 points last week by that save, which just shows you a keeper is a good keeper does win you points. I'm not saying Fulton's a spectacular keeper, but that save was phenomenal. I would have liked another keeper in to at least challenge him. As you say, the 40-point target, that's something I always say. I always say if Aki's can get an average of a point per game, so 38 points, we'll probably stay in the league. That's always my sort of target. And a point in the top tier for averaging a point per game in the top tier for Aki's is good in my opinion. But who knows? Who
Who
knows?
knows? There was some contract obviously news that month as well. Two big signings extend their contracts. Sean Want and Scott Martin, two regular first teamers, both out injured obviously at the moment. But two players that I'm sure you're buzzing about signing down because two players who are not only good on the pitch, they're key for our team, but also really nice guys who interact well with the fans.
No, I was at the time I was really buzzing. I'm happy that we've tied day two down. I think whether in the top tier or we're in the championship, I think they'll be crucial players for us. They're not players I think are world beaters by any sense of form, but I think they're really good at Hamilton Accies players.
Yep.
And I can see them both. Obviously, Sean Want's been here a very long time. I could probably see him been here a even longer time. Same with Martin. So I was happy at the time we signed him. David Moyle obviously signed a 2-year deal as well, which at the time Moyo was one I think fans were looking forward to seeing this season
Mm-hmm.
because we saw how he was training throughout the summer. He was looking in really good shape, and he's just not a striker to
Just
play
not
up top
happening.
himself. It's just not happened. I don't think he's a striker to play up top himself. He works well when he is in a sort of two and he's got someone there to work with him, is my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But striker's main objective is to score goals, and he's just not done it.
Just not doing it. There was obviously some signings in there as well. Lee Hodson and Justin Johnson. Lee Hodson, a signing that I think most Mackies fans were very happy with. An experienced player who knows the Scottish game. Needed desperately game time. Obviously, was at Gillingham. That's where we've got him on loan from. And since then, he's obviously came out and said that he wants to stay. He's open to extended his stay past his loan deal. So he came in, and I thought, perfect. That's an experienced player that we needed in defence, and hopefully he can help us grow.
No, it was one that kind of came out the blue really.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about how we needed defender options signed ASAP, and Hodgson came out of kind of nowhere. I don't think anybody really expected it. It was a sort of evolving door with the Scottish clubs. Everybody seemed to be getting each other's old fullbacks.
Yep.
Obviously, Kelly got AJ, St Mirren get Richard Tate, and then we get Hodgson. It was at St Mirren the year before. So, no, I think Hodgson's been a good signing. He's one of them ones that he's always a seven.
Yep.
He doesn't ever really stand out in games, but he's never shite in games. So he'll give you a shift each game. So he's been a good signing. Obviously, he said since then he would like to stay on. Would he like to stay on if we're in the championship? I'm unsure. But he's been a good signing with regards to Justin Johnston.
Same boat as Tunde, isn't it?
Same exact same boat, mate. I'm not for a second, and people must think I want to shag they two with my tweets, but it's not. I don't for a second think that Tunde and Justin Johnston are fucking Ronaldo and Messi.
Yeah.
I don't even know if these players are good. I'm I'm just going for the small glimpses I've saw. They've added something different to the game, and they've added more of an attacking spark. So it just pisses me off when you sign these players and you give them a contract. They're not getting a chance to.
Yeah.
So what's the point in paying players and having? I don't know how much they're on, but that's two wages. What's the point in having these wages there if and giving them week in week out if they're not even going to get an opportunity?
There was another big interview in that month of August. We obviously got our first chance to sit down properly with a current Hamilton player, Hamilton fan, Lewis Smith. And it's another one of those where I think went well and got a good response. Fans liked it, the club liked it, the club were happy for us to do it, and thank you to them for that. And they said they were open to do more, but it was one that was hit non-stop with technical difficulties.
Mm.
Lewis's Wi-Fi sucked, so it means the quality wasn't fantastic. The recording then messed up when I went to edit it, so I had to do some serious fidgeting around with some stuff, and it's just one of those ones that I think overall went well, but it's unfortunate how
For,
it
for
came out.
for me, mate, I really did enjoy it, and I'm sure the fans and viewers would have really liked it as well. Because as far as I remember, Lewis Smith's been the only Accies fan that's played with Accies in my life. It's everybody's sort of dream to grow up and play with your childhood football club, and he's living that sort of dream. Unfortunately, he's injured just now, but just to get a sort of insight in him growing up,
Mhm.
what it was like in certain instances, playing in derbies, scoring his first goal, getting his call up for Scotland. It was, for me to be involved in that. No, it was brilliant, and I'm sure the fans and the people that watched it, and the comments after it, no, it was really good, and it was definitely a positive from last year. Hearing that, just unfortunately, Lewis is obviously out injured just now.
Yeah.
Hopefully a speedy recovery because we've definitely missed him this season.
Yeah, and it's the same boat as anybody else. If anybody has any suggestions, anybody you want us to talk to, we're in a privileged position where the club seem to be happy to allow us to do these virtual interviews, or they allowed us that one, and they said at the time that they were open to do more. So if anybody has any suggestions, anybody'd like to speak to, let us know, and we'll try our best to organise it. September saw us having a very hit and miss first few games. Obviously, a 2-1 win versus Livingston, a 2-1 loss versus Kelly, then a 1-1 draw with Dundee United. But that Livy game, David Templeton obviously scored, but the big talking point, Kyle Monroe, a player that I certainly hadn't really heard anything of before, suddenly comes on, starts in place of Scott McMahon, and ends up scoring the winner.
Aye, no fair plays came on and he scored a very, very good header.
Very
Here we
good
go,
header.
Kyle Monroe. Thought that Livy game was all right. I don't think it was another game. I don't think we were particularly the best team. I think it was probably one of the games this season where we certainly weren't that dominated.
Yeah.
It's probably one that was more in balance. I think even out of the games we've won, we've never really been the better team as such in majority of our games. But that one was one that was in the balance. Monroe comes on, scores in place of McMahon, who was suspended the previous game and states his claim to continue to start. Game after that, Kelly, you think, fingers crossed, we can go into this game with a bit of bounce. We've won the game. Kilmarnock go down to 10 men, great. But we get beat, unfortunately. Jobby won each with Dundee United in a game where, let's be honest, every game we've played against Dundee United this season not been anything special. So a draw was a fair result in that game. But as you say, a sort of hit and miss month. Don't think we particularly played brilliant in any of the games, but we came away with 4 points out of 12.
But we did make signings in September, two signings. One of them, we wouldn't talk about, Ryan Scully, backup keeper brought in purely because we
I know, but I think we
him
need
to
to
a third
touch on him
choice.
I think we need to touch on him slightly because I think there's a bit of information about him that the fans don't know.
Okay, so from the rumors that I say the rumors, what we know is, Ryan Scully was signed but was never ever going to play. He's a full time police officer, I believe, and he works for the police. And he
Doesn't
purely
he train?
signed. No, he doesn't train. He was purely signed for numbers. Is kind of what we're hearing. What we're
So he's
seeing.
sort of doing us a favour. He's getting a wee
Yeah,
bit of extra cash on the side, barely anything. But and we're calling it for another keeper, and that's what they went and done, just as a sort of sly, cheap option, which is quite, as I said, sly.
yeah.
And not very good for Akis, but which makes it more obvious that we need another keeper, in my opinion. But aye, for fans that didn't know that, aye, Ryan Scully's a full-time police officer and doesn't even train with us.
Doesn't train. Doesn't train. And it was there was another signing, obviously that one, Ben Sterling, who fans have talked about a lot, kind of since his signing. He's not been a player that's set the world alight. It's fair to say that he came in a free from Hibs, one of their youth players. Possibly we saw him as maybe hope someday we could do something with Scott Martin. Came from Hibs, a young player that needed to prove himself. Maybe we thought we'd give him the same platform. He's been thrown around the team, let's be honest. He's been a right back, centre back, midfield, but he's not really shined in any of those positions, has he?
When he first came in and he was playing, he looked horrendous. But in the style of play we're playing and the position he's been put in, he's not done anything spectacular. He's not looked brilliant. He's not looked great, but he's kind of steadied the ship. So maybe there is something there. Wasn't that convinced. What you were sort of touching on there is it was very prevalent that we needed to bring in a creative and attacking player, a forward. We didn't do that.
There was two players leaving. We'll touch on very briefly. The podcast brothers, Marcus Fjortoft, Keenan McKenna, both leaving. One for Morton, one for Partick Thistle. Two players that came in with no great reputation, probably with no expectations, and left the exact
And
same way.
and it makes sense if you've got these. And I think any Aki's fan could have told you, what's the point in having these players on your books getting a wage that it's just a waste of wage, and that's two. That's two players, two separate wages that could have went in one good defender.
Yeah.
This is what I just don't understand with Akis. They just buy in bulk, and they've had to get rid of them because it just wasn't working. Kieran McKenna doesn't even get a game with Thistle. It tends to be a reoccurring theme with Akis each season. We have these sort of players on our books that it's just a waste because they're nowhere near good enough for the standard of football that we're meant to be playing.
September was one of those months that unfortunately dominated by Aki's off the pitch. There was COVID problems, which we'll touch on. Obviously, we get the first kind of notice of that at the club. Lee Hodson has been forced to isolate for 14 days because he came in contact with somebody who tested positive. He was rooming apparently with the St Mirren keeper. They lived together, and so because he tested positive, obviously it meant Lee Hodson had to isolate. And then not long after that, next thing you know, 3 players test positive for COVID in Accies. The whole place is shut down. Training is cancelled. The club's shut for deep cleaning for 24 hours. And that was just the start of kind of what we're going to see later on in the season. Brian Rice has used that excuse a few times. We've maybe been hit harder than others, he said. I don't necessarily think that's true.
I don't really get the whole Rice. We've been hit harder with it than others. We probably have been one of the most hard hit by sort of COVID problems, but injuries as well. You could say we certainly have been hit the hardest with regards to players not being available to play, because it has been the sort of core, and everybody's in the same sort of boat these days. It's just the world we're in now. If you get one case, obviously at the start of the season it was sort of unknown territory. It was weird to experience it, but everything's weird now.
There was another big story that dominated the headlines off the pitch, and one that has since snowballed into a major issue, and it's one that unfortunately we have to talk about later on down the line of this video as well.
But see, even before you actually go into in-depth details about all this, that is nothing to do with Hamilton Academical Football Club. That is to do with the stadium company. For us to get our name dragged down constantly by something that isn't even the football club, pisses me right off. I completely understand the point of view, but you're going to say the whole 20, the lease was there for 20 years. We've known that was going to end for so long. But it's got nothing to do with Hamilton Accies Football Club. We're used in these headlines just for the sheer scaremongering fact to sort of implicate the football club involved in it, when it has nothing to do with the football club whatsoever. And that's what pisses me off the most about it.
No, you're absolutely right. I shouldn't be saying we in this because it's Colin McGowan and what he's doing. Like, you're absolutely right. But it was the first kind of taste of that, and like you said, Hamilton unfortunately dominating the headlines in that department. And it's one that we've since seen snowball into a kind of major issue, which again we'll talk about kind of later on down the line. But that was the first real taste we got of it. Unfortunately, a big issue. Into October now, and this is a big one, both on and off the pitch, of course. We started off the month with a 3-2 loss versus Hibernian. And it was one of those ones where this was one we all watched in the stadium. It was another one that they put on. And the game did not go well at all. And even though the scoreline maybe doesn't reflect that, does it?
Not that we saw much of the game because of the connection in the stadium. 3-2 flatters us like majority of results have this season. We scored 2 goals, but I don't think we really deserve to be only 1 goal between the both teams. But it's just the usual for what this season's been kind of like, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and obviously we were then going into the cup, and you were thinking this is a great opportunity for players like Tunde that we keep talking about to get some time. I don't even know how you even start talking about this. It was one that we were expected to dominate and win, as we did most years, but as always, Annan seemed to pull something out the bag, and we're 3-0 down at half time. Can you tell me what your reaction was to that? Not only the result, but being 3-0 down at half time.
That result on its own is a sackable offence.
Yeah.
The season was going really poor. We had nothing really to be happy about. We weren't at the games. The standard of football was pish. People were calling for Rice before that. People were very sceptical about him. You're surely thinking, no, this is a good chance. Play some players, kickstart the season, get a good victory, because we've not really dominated any matches at all. But yet you go and get dominated by folk at work and takeaways and folk that are working a full-time job before they're going and playing football.
And it was a team that hadn't played football, remember, in what, 6
that
months?
was actually, that was
been out as well.
It's a bit of a shambles, to say the least. The least we talk about that game, the better, I think. Just another result that added to a shit show year. Any other team but Accies, that manager's gone. So
yeah, I pinpoint that as the game of the downward spiral, the real downward spiral, because obviously after the game we didn't get a reaction from the manager. We were told that the lighting was poor and technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties.
That we weren't given a reaction to the game. We then go in to play Ayr. It wasn't a confident, convincing 2-1 win by any stretch of the imagination. But you're thinking, okay, it's a win. That's something to build on. And then right after the game, what does Brian Rice do? He comes out and refers to fans who are voicing their opinions on social media as keyboard warriors. And you're thinking, mate, just take it, accept that you did stuff wrong and move on. But instead he comes out and describes fans as keyboard warriors. And then that just really kicked off everything, didn't it, between the
No,
club and the fans?
he beat Ayr United 2-1, and he's came out and says, "Oh, I hope this silences all the keyboard warriors," as if he's this almighty god for
Yeah,
beating. You're like, come on, to fuck, man. Where's your media man there? Step in. That's the whole purpose. You need to be media
yeah.
savvy.
He
I
should have
thought
known.
I
He should
thought
have
he
known
should have
his.
known when to tell him to stop.
Yeah.
This not cannot continue. It was just very arrogant and very
Mhm.
self-righteous. It just screams out to me. You can go out and say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Your job's safe no matter what. I can guarantee you, if the season panned out the way it has this season, and fans were on the ground, Brian Rice would not be our manager right now. Million
You think?
percent, million percent. Look at the backlash and upheaval there's been in social media.
Mhm.
Imagine that was in person. There's not a chance he could be manager now. For the comments he's made, for the results he had, nah, there's not a chance he could have survived that. I'm very surprised he survived Annan. I'm very surprised he survived the backlash of the keyboard warriors comment. So no, there surely couldn't have been any chance of him surviving.
We then went into the 5-3 loss versus St Johnstone, and this kind of patch of games, including obviously the whole of October, was really where we're hemorrhaging goals. You know, 3 versus Hibs, 3 versus Annan, 5 versus St Johnstone.
And I'm positive St Johnstone hadn't scored in God
St
knows how
Johnstone
many
hadn't
games.
scored in, I think, like 7 games or
That
something.
was it. No,
That was as bad as.
Aberdeen hadn't scored in 7 games. There was a similar start. I don't think St Johnstone won in X amount of games,
Mhm.
and then Aberdeen hadn't scored in Y amount of games. So he then, because I think St Johnstone were maybe bottom at that point.
They were definitely in and around that
In
area.
and around, and they've came here and comfortably, absolutely shagged us 5-3, and
There
then you
wasn't
go.
even like a. Again, it's a scoreline that flatters. It wasn't a 5-3
It
game. It could
wasn't,
have been
mate. It was
7. It
about
could
it
have
was
been
like a
8.
10-2 game or
Yep.
something. The backlash continues because you've been pumped off Hibs, you've been pumped off Annan, papered over the cracks with a very average win
Yep.
against Ayr United. Normality goes back to resume when you get pumped off St Johnstone. Backlash continues. You go up to Aberdeen. Aberdeen were pretty poor on a pretty poor run, and they pump us again. We scored 2 goals when we're already 4-0 down, so it
Yep.
makes the score in the situation seem not too bad. I just struggle to feel and believe how Brian Rice survived it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I'm surprised he survived that as well. There was another moment off the pitch that kind of hit the headlines as well. Andy McGilvery, who obviously everybody will know, worked with the Hamilton Advertiser for God knows how long and is now with Lancashire Live. When he did the press conference just before the Aberdeen game, so after the St Johnstone game, we were sitting bottom of the table after that defeat. And he asked Brian, are they confident they will, is their fight there, be able to get off that bottom of the table? And Brian, just that seemed to just hit a nerve for some reason.
Brian, you ended up bottom in the league on Saturday, unfortunately. How much of a determination is there to get away from there?
That's local people asking me questions. That's the local people asking what bottom of the league. Andy, I think it's a stupid question. How determined are we to get off the bottom of the league? Of course we're determined to get off it, pal. Of course we're determined to get off the bottom of the league. You know, we've played 10 games with bottom of the league. We need to get off it, Andy.
Very double standards, which and very contradictory. That seems to be a very reoccurring theme with Aki's. Brian Rice calls us keyboard warriors and has a go at Aki's fans for questioning how Aki's had been and
Yeah.
if he is capable of doing his job, yet he's having a go at someone doing their job. Very double standards. Andy McGilvery, Hamilton Advertiser, worked in Aki's favour. They would never ask questions that Aki's fans want to hear. They would never publish sort of journalism that people want to read. People want answers when things aren't going wrong. The Advertiser never used to do that in the sort of canon era, or whenever things were going wrong. It was only ever positive headlines. And then Lancashire Live happened, and the club don't like it because although they don't ask they don't actually ask bad questions.
No.
They'll publicise some things that fans are interested to see, but they never really post anything that's I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
And I think Rice, it's one of the ones that he'll happily criticise other people, but he can't take criticism.
Yeah,
And when you're a football manager, or a head coach, whatever you want to call him, you need to be able to take criticism, especially when it's quite rightly deserved. And by all means, the criticism he got in the month of October was quite rightly deserved. That's the local paper. The local paper screwing his face up. You're like, fucking get a grip, mate.
Yeah.
Honest to God.
You can see as soon as he asked the question, for whatever reason, it seems to hit a nerve, and I don't know if the pressures was getting to him at the time, and whatever it was, but just out of pure common decency, you don't speak to MD like that, especially not when you're in a job and that person's just trying to do theirs. So obviously, like you said, the fan backlash in October was a bit crazy. Alan Maitland came forward and backed his manager, and I said at the time, that's usually the final nail in the coffin. As soon as a board backs a manager, it's not long before they're gone. It's obviously not happened. But Aki's fans, we did get a defender, Joe Sked from A View from the Terrace. One of the things he brought up was Aki's fans criticising the club and criticising the manager, and the response they've got from the club, and he backed us and said that we are well within our right to demand answers and to stand up for what we believe in. And it's the first time in a long time I've seen a kind of mainstream media like that back Aki's fans in a situation like that. And maybe Joe regrets it a little bit. He's tagged in every Aki's post from here on in. But that was great to see, wasn't it? It was great to see somebody like him standing up for us.
And quite rightly so. We deserve to get stood up for, because I remember when Maitland came out and backed Rice. They were blaming the fans. What was it? They says
we don't
we're not grasping the
Yeah.
current what's currently going on. Everybody else is experiencing the same world that we're in just now. Aki's are no different for that. So that doesn't mean that Brian Rice is exempt for criticism, and because he's doing a fucking shit show, it's COVID's fault. Do you know what I mean? It's just it was mind-boggling. Some of the things you were saying, you were reading, and it was very the whole month of October was very Cannon-esque. Everything just about it was Cannon-esque. Some of the comments Rice was making, it's my remit to bring through young players and make sure the boat's steady and whatnot. And it all just reeked to Martin Cannon. And when Martin Cannon eventually did go, and that's what made me think that this is ending soon. Surely there's no way back here, and that's what just makes it extremely surprising that he still is here, because that month of October was mental. And I think the thing with the whole month of October that was pissing me off as well was the fact, just the sheer arrogance of Rice and some of the things he was coming out. Like I says, he was mentioning keyboard warriors and whatnot. He must have very short memory, because like I talked on at the start of the review, back in January when he came out with everything that sort of put our club into a bit of turmoil and could have had a massive effect. Gladfully it didn't, and hopefully Rice has recovered and he hasn't had any relapses or whatnot from that. But Aki's fans could not have been more supportive throughout that time. Aki's fans came as one and supported him to the hills there. As soon as things go wrong and he's getting a bit of criticism, which he clearly can't take, he dishes out all this verbal abuse to Aki's fans, which I just didn't find very fair at all.
No, I agree, and it's something that, and David, who runs Onlyaccies, he's still not forgiven Brian Rice for that, and neither have I. No matter how kind of good things get in the football club, and obviously I cross my fingers, I hope they do. To come out after, like you said, everybody, I can't remember one single fan that in any way didn't support him. We obviously, a lot of them came together and signed the shirt that we organised, and we were lucky enough to go and give it to him personally, and wish him well, and he thanked the fans. It just, that's something that it still sticks with me, that no matter how kind of good things get, to turn your back on fans like that is something that David certainly hasn't forgotten. I don't think any fan will, because it's shocking.
When I'm saying Martin Cannon-esque, the sort of thing that was the sort of cream of the crop with the Martin Cannon thing was when allegedly Brian Rice's wife was replying to folk on Twitter. I had a look at it, mate. It's very, 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 very hard to say that wasn't Brian Rice's wife. There was tweets from her from previous months.
Oh God!
With pictures of Brian Rice and old Nottingham Forest stuff, replying to people, saying who these sort of old Hibs coaches were, who these old Nottingham Forest players were, And then she's responding, calling folk names,
Yeah.
fucking belittling fans, saying they don't have a clue what they're talking about, blah, blah, blah. I really wish I had screenshots, and I really wish, I probably do somewhere, to be honest with you. And if I do find them before we release this, I'll put them up, because I think it'll give the fans a good laugh, and which we need right now. Your manager's wife replying to folk in Twitter, like, that just Hamilton Accies, isn't it? It's...
It is. It definitely is. And finally, just to finish off that month, good story, possibly. David Moyo, he got his international cap, another one for Zimbabwe's first in a few years. A weird choice.
I've checked my family tree just in case, because if he can get a fucking call up, I'm pretty sure I'd fucking get a game for them.
Yeah, he's not great, and we spoke about it many a time, and it was a surprise to see, but did you not at least feel a little bit?
No, of course.
Him,
No, I'm sure. I'm sure I tweeted, retweeted the fact that he got a call up. It's not very often you see an Accies player getting an international call up, but like you says, I wouldn't be surprised if even you could get a game for them, Ben.
In November, unfortunately, continued down that spiral. 8-0 loss to Rangers.
I posted actually on my Facebook, because I think I was pissed the night before, so I was still that way when you wake up, still kind of pissed. Something like, we might get pumped 8-0 tonight, but at least we didn't let our club die. Oh my.
What luck?
What luck is that? Didn't even bear it. But aye, the game, I didn't even watch the game, mate, because I knew it was going to be an absolute pumping. And aye, what you're about to explain after it was just mental.
I mean, I watched the game, and I was doing the live tweets. I paid to watch the game. I was doing the live tweets for Onlyaccies, and I swear to you that when they scored the first two, I didn't tweet anything else other than the goal for Rangers, because every time they got the ball, I had a goal tweet in my drafts ready to go, because I knew it was coming. And it was just one of those games where you sensed every single time they went forward, they would score, and pretty much every single time they went forward, they would score. It was embarrassing. But what happened afterwards kind of hit the headlines. Accies fans, yourself among them, I don't know how many they were, 35, 40, did you say at the time?
30.
All went down and waited for the bus to arrive. Social distanced. All went down and waited for the bus to arrive, gave the players their talking to, basically, when they came off the bus, and then waited for Brian Rice. And Brian spoke to you guys for what, 40 minutes, 45 minutes?
No, it lasted for quite some time. Some of the things that were getting said was just mental. The fact that he was admitting his cell that his strikers are shite. Which good is that going to do for your players? I know we're allowed to sort of voice our opinions with that, but when your own manager's calling you shite, it's not really good, is it? Fair enough, he actually came out and spoke. He didn't actually need to do that, but he was calling people keyboard gangsters, warriors, whatever you want to call it, and told us to come say it to his face. So that's what people did do. Yep. And it could be argued that it actually did benefit us.
Yeah,
could be argued.
Because I saw, was it yourself or the We Are Hamilton Twitter page? What tweeted up basically asking if the response of fans going down, has that had a positive effect? One Accies fan he organised it, was very vocal. You can hear that the audio's not great in it, but you can hear him really kind of leading the charge there, and explaining to Brian Rice, and you could hear yourself talking in it as well. What Accies are known for. We're known for fighting, we're known for being nasty, and we're known for that kind of never die, never give up attitude, and that it seemed to have been lost.
We can accept getting beat. We know we've got the lowest budget in the league. We know we need disrespect to any of your players. We've got the worst squad in the league. But we can't accept what is perceived as a lack of effort. And game by game, we can't see these guys making effort. See if these guys were working their socks off and getting beat every week, we'd accept that. We'd accept that.
Is that what you see? Is that what you see?
Yes.
Is that what you see, lads?
No desire. No fight. Accies, that's what we're well renowned for, a fight, never giving up attitude. And that's the most disheartening thing off, because we pride ourselves on that, and it's just not been there at all.
But as you said, since then, we have seen it return a little bit. So has that had a positive effect, do you think?
It could be argued, mate. Maybe it's just gave him a kick up the arse that he needed, because the fact that he was just getting allowed to prod along with his job as such, and because goes back to my argument about there not being fans there. Nobody's stood up to him. Nobody's told him that he's doing shite, bar social media, which clearly has affected him slightly in interviews, but nobody has actually been able to voice that to him. Clearly players haven't told him that what's happening shite.
Yeah.
The hierarchy's not told them what they're doing shite. So for us to actually go down there and be like, whoa, wait a minute, this is actually a bit serious. Maybe it has sort of put something in his head that something needs to change. I don't know personally if it did or didn't, but it certainly looks as if it sort of has, as Rice said, steadied the ship lately.
He said at the end in the video clip is that he'll pass that message on to the players, what we're saying, and the players, by the sounds of it, got an earful when they were coming off the bus anyway. But he said he would go and pass that on. And something that somebody said on Twitter is he shouldn't need the fans to come down and tell him to pass it on. He should be able to instill that attitude into them from the get-go. And if he's not doing it, does that show his incompetence in man management within the dressing room? I think partly yes. It definitely shows. I do think that having the fans meet them off the bus did give the players a bit of a kick up the arse. Same Brian Rice.
But the thing is, he says, "Oh, I'm going to go and I'll definitely voice everything you've said," and then we go and get beat fucking Austrian Ra. So
this is the thing, right? So obviously after that we lose 2-1 to Stranraer. The immediate reaction is, of course, well, that didn't work. You've obviously not implemented that. You've obviously not passed on the message, and it didn't help at all. We put out a video, a podcast, a short one just after the game called "We Care Do You," and we were basically, it was yourself, me, a few of the older fans, a few of the younger fans, just kind of all talking about the game and Brian Rice and where the club is at the moment. We all said at that time, if you remember, we totally expect a statement first thing tomorrow morning announcing his resignation, but it didn't come.
No, we were expecting a statement to come. We did get a statement the next morning announcing that they were actually going to play the Albion Rovers game. So, as you all remember, the absolute shit show of shambles with Accies weren't actually even going to play the Stranraer game or play the Albion Rovers game for us fans. Apparently, it wasn't making them enough money. So, as fans, are only getting to see games if it's making them money. Stranraer obviously picked up in their sort of backlash on that and thought, oh, we could make a wee dime here. Put a stream on. The stream was brilliant. The commentators were class. The wee show in the middle at half time was brilliant. Everything about the stream was good. The football was pish. We get beat off Stranraer, and how he survived that, I'll never know.
Yeah.
Apparently Colin McGowan was right there first thing in the morning saying we're going to show the Albion Rovers game. That seems to me a bit of a big get it right fucking up you to the fans. Because if they're saying they're not going to play the Albion Rovers game for the sheer fact, or maybe it's just stupidity, maybe Colin McGowan heard how much Stranraer made. And despite the fact we just get beat off them, thought, oh, I'll make money off that. We go to play Albion Rovers and I think we're going to get beat here, and if this cunt still stays, God knows, and Albion Rovers have some sort of COVID outbreak and we get awarded the win, which could arguably say saved Brian Rice's job.
Yeah, I mean, we were out at the cup at that stage anyway, so it was a dull game that had no real relevance to it. But you're right. It probably did save his career. Right at that stage.
I was reading stuff on Twitter and social media constantly. People, when we were getting pumped these games, oh, Brian Rice, what a guy, nice guy, tries to play football the right way. I'm sorry, what is the right way in your eyes? I don't see us doing tiki-taka, trying to fucking pass the ball, fucking... Do you know what I mean? I don't see us pass the ball Man City, Pep Guardiola style. He wasn't playing football the right way in the first place.
Yeah.
We were getting pumped because how wide open we were, and the complete dimensional setup of the whole team was wrong. We were not attacking teams. No. We were not playing free-flowing football. We were just playing wide open shite football. So that's why we were getting pumped. So for people to say, oh, Brian Rice, top guy, top football man, tries to play football the right way, and that's why they're getting beat.
Now, the 2-1 loss versus Dundee United, which came next, some could say, and I would be one of them, that seemed to be the slight turning point in our more positive kind of run of games that we've getting recently. It is a loss, of course, but we did see some more stability in that team. We did see a hell of a lot more fight in that team. And ultimately, I think we were quite unlucky to go and end up losing that game.
Totally agree with what you're saying. The Dundee United game is when we've sort of made it more stable, let's say. Not good on eye, but harder to beat. We definitely showed signs of progress that weren't there in the previous games of just getting absolutely shafted off teams.
Yeah. And we obviously carried that then on into Aberdeen, drew 1 each with them. Very unlucky not to win the game. A world-class save by Joe Lewis in the 92nd minute or something. Saved us from picking up all 3 points. But there was a positive turn in that game. Like you said, much harder to beat. We created more chances going forward, not a huge amount, but created a little bit more. But like you said, the main point we're trying to get across here is how much more fight and how harder it was to break us down, which has always been the basis of a Hamilton team. We are always a different.
The very littlest and the very small of Aki's sort of mentality, and what's the word for it? Sort of Aki's mantra is just to be hard to beat.
Yep.
Never give up. That's the least you should be expecting. It was good to see a bit of stability there and not actually just getting pumped games. Not to say, let's be honest, Aberdeen went through a run there where they were absolutely garbage.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
we played them at a good time. But no, second half of that Aberdeen game, we certainly looked a completely different team to what we were for the full month of October.
And we did make some signings, obviously, in November as well. We'll mention Nathan Thomas first. He obviously came in with a free agent, last club with Sheffield United. Player with pace, an attacking player, someone we called out for. Obviously, with David Templeton out, it was even more important. He came in so unfit, though. You saw that he started against Stranraer. You saw that. I think we only got maybe 45, 50 minutes out of him before he was done in. But he showed a little kind of glimpses in that Stranraer game. He wasn't afraid to take a shot. What were your thoughts initially when we signed Nathan Thomas?
Thank fuck we've got somebody in. We were crying out for an attacking player when the window was open. The options were very limited. The squad isn't good enough. Temps gets injured and you're like, fuck's sake, here we go, man. I know we should have signed an attacker or another creative player, which we didn't. And no, I was glad when he came in, and when you did see him, and when I have saw him, I think he looks a player. His stats for Carlisle don't lie. When he does play, he's a good player.
Yeah.
He gives us a different dimension, a different way to play rather than a boring shite hoof the ball football. I'm gutted that he's injured, to be honest with you, because we've got nobody else at all still. You don't really see many Aki's players who actually aren't scared to take them on rather than release the ball. And Nathan Thomas certainly looks like a very direct player that will not be afraid to take someone on, have a shot, do a bit of skill, and it's just unfortunate that he does appear to be out for some period of time.
Do you think we'll see him before the end of the season again?
For what I've heard, no.
Hmm.
For what I've heard, no. For what I've heard, he's on a sort of rehabilitation course, so I don't think we'll see him.
The other player we brought in, I think come the end of the season, will turn out to be one of our signings of the season, one of the most important players, Aaron Martin. Big, experienced, that's the key word, experienced defender coming in. He's released from his contract at Exeter, so he was free. And he's just brought so much stability, along with Brian Easton. He's brought so much more stability to that defence and has been a key factor in our little run of clean sheets that we had kind of in November, December.
I know Aaron Martin certainly looks a player. I remember when we signed him, I read the sort of comments from Exeter fans and other fans that he was at, and reminded me of a sort of Matt Kilgallen sort of signing. He's commanding. He looks as if he's talking. You're like Jamie Hamilton for a game. When him and Easton play, it gives you a bit more confidence in the fact that we might be able to sneak a win, because we're not looking very good attacking at all. We're not showing any attacking prowess at all. But the fact when you've got Aaron Martin and Easton, and then maybe Hamilton in there, we definitely look as if he's been a very good signing. I think without bringing him in, we wouldn't have picked up anywhere near the amount of points as what we have, because he definitely sort of is a sort of key figure in that team.
And he's definitely helped Jamie Hamilton. I've been very vocal about this on Twitter. Jamie Hamilton, since he came in, has came on leaps and bounds. He's been the kind of most consistent alongside in that kind of back three centre backs of Martin, Easton, and Hamilton. And you can tell just by having Martin next to him and kind of helping him through games and leading him through games that Jamie Hamilton has progressed immensely as well.
No, I know, definitely. And it can only be a good thing for Jamie Hamilton having a sort of mentor and someone who's played in English football for so long, played at a good level, Southampton. So no, I was really happy with the fact we've signed Aaron Martin, and fingers crossed it continues to sort of be as important and crucial as what it has been.
One of the big stories that came from November, and one that very surprised to see, was a club employee, let's say, who was very vocal on social media, decided to start responding to fans who decided to start talking back to fans and basically disregarding their opinions, stating that because they didn't have their actual face on their profile, their actual name, their opinion was invalid. We've spoken about this plenty, so we won't talk about it too much, but it's just another example of crazy stuff that goes on off the pitch for Accies, because an employee arguing with fans just shouldn't happen.
Put it this way, in any other line of work, if I spoke to one of my customers in the way in which he did, I get my P45 handed to me straight away.
The stadium company, the stadium department, whatever you call it, the charity side of the club, made a big announcement that they were going to put on a Christmas pantomime. But don't worry, Brandon, I know what you're thinking. How does it tie in with football? As we're a football club, don't worry. They've got Old Firm players in it, so that helps. Scott Brown, James Tavernier featured in it. George Galloway, of course, very appealing to children.
You pay cat bastard. That's what I say about him. Can you pay cat bastard?
Oh man!
Fucking
of course, no, but
McGowan's best mate.
He obviously he responds so well with children. Children love George Galloway.
Of course they do. Fucking let me lick the camera like he does.
Tyson Fury was in it as well. So much time and so much effort and so much advertising went into that.
See, I have no issue whatsoever with the club being very charitable.
No, they don't.
Everything they do is for charity is brilliant. See, if you're going to put that much effort into charity, surely you put at least half of that into football, and it'll work both ways. I have no issue with anything they do charity-wise, and I'm sure there's so many fans that have said to me they wish that there wasn't this sort of divide where they're both seen as two different entities, because they would more than happily get involved in the charity side. They would more than happily do anything they can to support charity. I've got friends that do food banks, stuff like that. And I would love to be part of that and help out as much as possible. But because there's that sort of divide where they're both seen as two different things, and the effort that's put into charity compared to football, what was it? Blood, sweat and tears have went into this Hamilton Accies panto. Where's the fucking blood, sweat and tears into football? We don't get it, and that's why I'm so negative, and that's why I'm always this seems like angry fucking door-faced bastard. I don't want to be like that, and I'm sure majority of Accies fans, there is some that tweet that I think they just enjoyed doing that. It's just mind-boggling, mate. It's that whole pantomime thing was crazy, and it's just you wouldn't see it any other football club. It's just insane.
Why not have some Hamilton folk involved so the young Accies fans would be interested in clicking on and watching it?
See, if they done more like that, if they done some of the sort of advertising they do for that pantomime, they'd have more young Accies fans.
Yes, I agree. I absolutely agree. And I mean, even the players that were advertising it. Ross Callahan, I love the guy, but when he's tweeting about, come and watch the panel, here's the link on his Twitter.
There's an extra 50 quid in your bank if you tweet this.
Cam Smith was doing it on Instagram. Why are the club not utilising that? Because let's be honest, when David Moyo puts up an Instagram post, how many young Accies fans are commenting on that, or liking that? if you can get that to advertise games, I think you will see an upturn in Aki's fan and young Aki's fans.
But that just sort of proves the whole point where they don't care about us fans. They don't care about increasing their sort of football side of things, because if they put all that blood, sweat and tears into the sort of charity aspect, and if they're not doing that in the football thing,
it doesn't seem like it would be necessarily hard for me. And it's just like you said, it's another example of missed opportunities
and
focusing on the wrong thing.
I think what sort of corresponds in that, in the game we sort of touched on slightly earlier, was fans just felt that there was this massive divide throughout the October, November months, and that was shown where, because all the ongoing things that were happening, the fans decided we were going to boycott the Albion Rovers game, and we all put on what would be a normal £15 into a charity. Which shows that the fans, they care about charity. The fans aren't these big nasty bastards that are saying football not charity, fuck charity. Fans aren't saying that. Fans are just wanting Hamilton Accies Football Club to be more of a football club for us fans. Space for both. There's space for football, there's space for charity, but the effort needs to be equal, surely, with us being a football club.
Accies also had another sponsorship deal in November. Accies Dundee Gin. Another example of kind of a weird marketing ploy. I would refund the money that they paid if an Accies fan can prove to me they bought a bottle of that gin.
See, and it just shows how out of touch they are. Wherever Accies fans are calling out for hoodies, tops, jumpers, I don't know, hundreds of stuff. Accies fans are calling out for us to sell stuff. What did they bring in? Accies Dundee gin. Fuck me, man. Accies hate Dundee.
Yep.
How fucking stupid can you be? I would see if it was an Accies gin, a bespoke gin. I would have loved, maybe no gin. I'm not a gin fan, but if it was like some sort of Accies bespoke beverage, alcoholic beverage,
you could then keep the bottle after.
You could keep for a keepsake, a memorabilia sort of thing. I love collecting my memorabilia, and sort of mementos. I'd 1,000,000% bought that, and I even considered buying it just because of where it was, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it because of they Dundee bastards.
And moving on finally to December, a more positive month. We started off well, a more positive month. We started off the month with a 1-0 win versus Kilmarnock, a Ross Callaghan penalty. Would you say that was the kind of springboard? That was the starting point of kind of Ross Callaghan's turning form? Or would you say it was maybe just slightly below that, and that was the first game that really kind of came into play?
That was a game where we started to see his capabilities. When he was first signed, Brian Rice says he's a goal-scoring midfielder, but for majority of the start of the season, he was playing as a holding midfielder. He's one of the only sort of attacking-minded players that are having. He's sort of getting the freedom, the opportunity to sort of be attacking-minded. So it's definitely, that game was a kick-start for him. He scored the penalty, but it was this. He's been a good player since then.
Aye. What I will say is the change in formation that Brian moved to. So you moved to a kind of 5-2-3. Which has made us a lot more compact and harder to break down and harder to beat. It has, however, sacrificed obviously our attacking play, which we'll talk kind of more about in the future and kind of later on.
We didn't have attacking play anyway.
No, I know, but kind of what I'm getting at is we were able to score goals previously. Yes, they were obviously when we were still getting beat, but we were still able to create.
I know what you mean. But
he sacrificed that in order to be more assured defensively. However, it has helped Ross Callaghan come on a lot more, and I just said it's moved him into a lot more attacking positions. He's getting chances and he has taken them. After that, we always had a 4-0 loss versus Hibs. Doesn't stand great for what I said at the start.
Normality resumed.
Normality resumed. That was the name of the video. Normality resumed. But then came the 2-0 win versus Ross County, and we know you were very merry after that game. Ross County is, like we said earlier on, a very hard place to go and get a result at. And to win 2-0, not overly comfortably, but to win 2-0, it was a game you would have been dying to be at, wouldn't you?
1,000,000%. Like you says, the times are mental, and being at any football games, not being able to be at any football games hard enough, but not being able to go up to Dingwall and Ross County away, it's just heartbreaking. the fact we won 2-0 there was brilliant. Like you said, it wasn't the most convincing result. I think we had like 34% possession. I still felt that we were going to win it.
Yeah, it was a weird kind of confidence thing we all had, wasn't it?
It was a weird one. But then back to normality during the week when we fucking get beat 2-0 off Livingston, and obviously Livy are on a massive high just now, and they're on this run that's phenomenal. But Livy are the team that we always sort of compare ourselves to in the league, and where we should be sort of aspiring to be doing what they're doing, because we've been in the league longer than them. We should be a more settled Premier League club.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've been here for that long. A club with not a lot of fans or not a lot of money, massively punch above their weight, but that never gets said to them because they're no Hamilton Accies for some weird reason. And Hamilton Accies like to actually use that mantra with themselves, so they don't actually push the boat out to try and be better where we are. So the Livingston game pissed me off because the amount of respect we showed them, and
yeah, it was a perfect
we
opportunity.
had like it was a perfect opportunity to get back to back wins, have a go a bit more, but it was just the same 7 defenders, backs against the wall, allowing teams to have so many shots and goal, and hopefully not the worst happens. And when you're going to give these teams so many opportunities and so much respect, then you're going to get punished, and Livy quite rightly done it with. He seems to have changed it up so that we're more stable at the back and we're not getting pumped, but then in games where there's opportunities to be taken and there's chances there for us to go and get a win, we're not trying to grab it. We're just happy to keep the way it is. We're doing like for like subs. The game management just seems really poor for me this year. There's been 1 or 2 occasions where like Livingston, no, sorry, not Livingston, Motherwell away, where I thought the game management won us the game. It doesn't seem to know what to do. In my opinion, it's just he's not changing in it for the good, and he's just happy to keep it the way it is. That's not good enough for me, in my opinion.
No, I agree. And I think he goes one of two ways. He either goes, as you said, like for like changes, doesn't push the boat out, holds on for either a draw or tries to nick a 1-1 win, or he goes the other way. And as you've described before on Twitter and on here, like a wee guy on FIFA where he puts seven strikers, and kind of hopes it gels together. I think he goes one of two ways. He just doesn't seem to have
Don't get
found
me
a
wrong. I'm not a football manager. I'm not a coach. I know people will obviously criticise when we're saying stuff like this. But when we were getting pumped, you were wanting us to change, and now we're not getting pumped. You're still moaning.
Yeah.
I'm not a football manager. I'm not a head coach. You need to find that middle ground. I don't know how to do that. I'm a football fan. It's his job. He gets paid to do that, to find that sort of middle ground. So I've got every right to voice my opinion with regards to that, and it's hard. It will be hard, but it just seems to me that, like you said, it's like a wee guy sometimes in FIFA, happy to thing out the 0-0 draws, like for like subs, but when there's a game there to be snatched, then like for like subs, or when you're getting beat, lumping all the attackers in the park, that is just poor game management. And he's paid to do these sort of things, and he just doesn't seem to know how to do it.
And unfortunately, there was some more news off the pitch as well. A letter from Colin McGowan to the local council begging, there's no other word to say it, begging the council to either A, re-sign the lease, or begging for money, 300k as a goodwill gesture. And it was one that was full of grammar and spelling mistakes, and quite rightly pointed out by fans. It was a joke. It was even posted on our social media platform. And then Aki's follow that up with a snide dig at fans, saying it was actually a draft letter.
Like you said, it's just embarrassing, and the whole divide between the football club and whatnot. That had nothing to do with Hamilton Academical Football Club. Colin McGowan's stadium company has nothing to do with Hamilton Accies Football Club. It's a stadium company that were getting paid off the council, not Hamilton Accies. Hamilton Accies weren't getting 300 grand per year, or whatever it was per year, off the council. The stadium company was getting the money. Because Hamilton Accies is the big name and is a big company, has a platform. You're dragging us through that when it has got no relevance whatsoever. Ignore the fact that your spelling's horrendous, your grammar's horrendous, your punctuation's horrendous. It's just embarrassing, and it's got no relevance to Hamilton Accies, and it seems like have no shame to drag Hamilton Accies down with that. There's so much scope there for Hamilton Accies to be such a better football team and better run in some ways. And don't get me wrong, I think some of the stuff they've done is brilliant for the club, but stuff like that, I'm speechless with regards to Summit. I don't know what to say when I see Summit. It's just like it's like a TV show, mate. It's like Desperate Housewives, footballers' wives, whatever it was called.
What did he describe it as? A soap opera?
A soap opera. Aye, that's exactly what it is. Hamilton Accies is like a soap opera at times, because you're bringing in things that aren't even relevant to the football team just as it's got a platform in it. I just don't want to talk about that thing anymore. It's just fucking annoying.
We'll move on to some good news to end this. Onlyaccies, we ran some December giveaways during this month. Thank you for all the support they had in them. We hope the winners enjoyed their prizes. The reason we started doing that was because the club merchandise isn't good enough. We wanted to give fans some kind of customized Accies themed stuff for Christmas. So we decided to run giveaways, but the main reason that David did it is because he wanted, and he said this in his statement, that he wanted to bring some joy back. He wanted to remind fans why we like the club, and we really do hope that we did that, because there was a lot of great memories, a lot of great stories posting that. The three of us had such a hard time picking winners each month because there was so many great entries. It's just something that we wish maybe the club would take kind of more emphasis on. Running things through December for Christmas when you've got young fans goes a long way. So hopefully next year they do something similar, and it's not left on our shoulders. And there was one great moment from December where an unfortunate Rangers fan thought it would be funny to jump on Clyde Super Scoreboard, phone in as an Accies fan, and back Brian Rice at the house, and he's doing a great job.
Chipper's a great lad. He's just chipping away and stuff like that. You've picked the wrong club.
Yeah.
See, when that sort of shit happens, I become fucking an FBI agent. I'm not gonna lie.
Here, can I just so to give insight? So I saw these tweets. Brandon shared these tweets, and I remember seeing them and going, oh, what an idiot! This has started the whole thing. Of course, Facebook's blown up. Can I say sorry? Within 5 minutes of those tweets being found, Brandon was sending me links to the guy's Facebook page, to the guy's work Facebook page. It was unbelievable. And of course, what did Accies do? They gave him what was the bar? I always forget the name. What was the bar?
Harlequins Bar in Dundee.
Harlequins Bar. Gave them the Harlequins Bar treatment, and that Facebook page was swiftly shut down.
Some of the reviews were brilliant, and
mate.
I don't know if we can say them on here, but
some of them were so good, man.
Phenomenal. And if we get copies of some of the things that I said, we'll put them up here. But it's honestly, I can happily criticise my football club no matter what, but see when some cunt else does,
yeah, exactly.
that's when we all go to town. Despite 2020 not being the best year for football fans, and for Accies especially, the tail end of the year it wasn't very good. No, that made my December, and I think it probably made most Accies fans 2020, because honestly, it's just when that sort of shit happens, it's just phenomenal, absolutely outstanding. And see if the actual, I don't know if like you had a bigger broadcaster that picked up on that, like Open Goal, if they found out about something like that happening, I think that would go to a different level. It was phenomenal content.
So funny. We do have a few kind of little things just to break down before we do go. We're going to pick favourites moments, our most controversial moment of the year, our most unpopular opinion, and our worst moment as well. So we'll start off good, we'll start off happy, we'll start off with our best moment.
David Moyo Ibrox.
I agree. David Moyo Ibrox.
Annan 3, Accies 1.
Rangers 8, Accies 0.
The SLO's letter to Colin McGowan was premeditated.
Brian Rice describing fans as keyboard warriors.
Alex Gogic was overrated.
Ryan Fulton is not as bad as people say. And before we go, we do have something to run by you all. Let us know your thoughts in the comments on social medias. We'll put this up as a video on our Twitter as well, for people to see directly. Brandon, David, and I are thinking of starting up something in this year in 2021, and that is an Onlyaccies shop, a store, an online store, for merchandise, Accies themed hoodies, t-shirts, pint glasses, stickers, Accies merchandise that we would like to see Hamilton sell, and we're looking about doing that ourselves. I suppose the main thing we're asking here is, A, would you be interested in that? Do you want something like that? And B, what do you want to see? We've got our own ideas and things we want to do. There are things that legally, unfortunately, we can't do. But realistically, this is your shop. It's a fan shop. Whatever you guys want, we will try our best to do. So any suggestions for stuff you would like to see, and any stuff you would like us to do, we'll try our best to do. But it's something we're kind of playing around with, isn't it? But it's something you've done before and seem to get a good response for. It's something that we're interested in doing this year.
Yeah, I done it beforehand. With the help, the sort of club did help us help slightly with it. They allowed me to sort of use the badge for t-shirts, whatnot. They allowed me to come in and get Andy Ryan, Dazzler, modelled the kit, modelled the t-shirts, and the stickers were a massive hit. And it's quite sad that we're having to do this as fans because they want merchandise. I love wearing my sort of Aki's top anywhere I sort of go on holiday, whatnot, and that's the only sort of thing we're able to wear. And we barely even sometimes if you're not fast with Aki's tops, you've not even got the opportunity to buy an Aki's top. So I think it's just something that hopefully excites the fans. Hopefully something that can be popular. But like you says, we need to know, because it's all well and good me saying that a half zip hoodie is what the fans want. We need to know what everybody thinks is. We need to sort of know what you want, what the things you're wanting. Is it t-shirts you want? Is it polos? Is it hoodies? Is it half zips? Is it stickers? Is it pictures? Is it
pint glasses?
Pint glasses, you name it. What do you want? Let us know. And obviously it'll be hard for us to do because, well, let's not lie, we're not the biggest fan base, and we're not going to be able to suit everybody's absolute needs. But we think by starting this off, it could have a sort of butterfly effect, and fingers crossed makes Aki's up their game slightly.
We are doing this completely off our own backs. None of us are millionaires. So anything that we do will be in limited supply, unfortunately, just purely down to money. If we do decide to go, if you guys want to see, clothes, hoodies, whatever, they will be in limited supply. It will be, if you're not fast, you're last, unfortunately. It's just hopefully something that we do and we do well and you guys like, and like Brandon said, hopefully it has a little bit of a knock-on effect and we see some more stuff coming at Accies as well. So that brings us to the end of our big 2020 review. Thank you all very much if you made it this far. It's possible this could be in 2 parts. We have been sitting here for what feels like 3 days doing this podcast. So thank you all very much for listening. If you did enjoy, hit the like button down below. Comment your opinions on all the topics we discussed. Any opinions you have, we'd like to know them. And on our social medias, all of which are linked in the description. Let us know about the shop. Again, social media, comments, whatever you think, what you like to see, we'll do our best to get it done. And as always, sharing this around or subscribing does help a lot. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you again soon.